Hi there. In my last video, I promised I was going to talk about neurolinguistic programming and how it can be used to reduce stress. Neurolinguistic programming, or NLP for short, is another psychological approach that has been met with much uncertainty since its development. If you look it up on the internet, for example Wikipedia, it is called a pseudoscientific approach to communication, personal development and psychotherapy. The word pseudoscience is a fairly damning one, and I personally do not think that NLP deserves that. NLP was born in the 1970s as an applied psychology by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. They wanted to understand how people can become masters of change. So in other words, how people became successful or became experts. Bandler and Grinder asked the question of how do people do that, and attempted to model the underlying secrets of success. All of this modelling and careful observation eventually created all the methods and techniques which form the umbrella term of NLP. Within all of this modelling, NLP attempts to explain how humans experience the world, and also how humans process and store information, how humans plan and organise, and also how humans make decisions and relate to other people. The term of NLP is founded on three principles. Firstly, neuro, which covers how the world is perceived through the senses, from which reality is then created. So this looks at the underlying neurology, which includes the nervous system as well as the brain. Secondly, linguistic, which covers how experiences are understood, given meaning and expressed through language. Language is not just a means of communication, it is also a means of perception, and it affects thinking, emotions and behaviour. Thirdly and finally, reprogramming, which is the internal processing that defines and affects self-image, behaviour and goal setting. Within NLP, it is argued that what determines ability, so being able versus unable, is ultimately due to our internal programs. So altogether, NLP has been described as the ultimate software for the human mind, where through understanding how people perceive, structure and communicate their experiences, there is the opportunity to modify or change in order to optimise our ability to achieve our true potential. NLP does not necessarily address the problems or the issues that the individual is struggling with. Instead, it attempts to create an environment that enables the individual to go through processes of change that are beneficial in creating a more efficient and cumulative environment for the person to grow in a personal sense. So NLP is about communicating with others, but it's also about what you're saying to yourself. We all have a kind of internal dialogue going on in the background all the time. This internal dialogue is necessary to help us comprehend the meaning of our experiences. It almost serves as a filing system to helping us to keep track of our everyday moments and our feelings and other types of responses. This, in turn, helps you to make decisions, to plan and to store information. The power of this internal dialogue must not be underestimated, because it has a bidirectional relationship with our sense of identity and also our self-esteem. It is remarkably easy for our internal dialogue to become negative and overly negative, especially when we are stressed and overwhelmed. If we are not careful, we develop thinking patterns within this internal dialogue which can be harmful to our well-being, either because they are not constructive or because they are not accurate. These thinking patterns can become deeply ingrained in our subconscious, so before we realise it, our nervous system and bodies end up automatically triggering the stress response, just reacting to all these faulty and unhealthy thinking patterns. and we end up triggering chronic stress. The various techniques of NLP serves to identify how each person perceives and processes their world, and how each person communicates this experience both to themselves and to others. Through this, it becomes possible to unpack and identify those unhelpful thinking patterns and reprogram them into a more productive and positive mindsets. This is why NLP can be valuable in stress management. Not only does it give you self-knowledge about how you experience the world, which is empowering, it also helps with adjusting and fine-tuning your natural thinking patterns, so your internal dialogue, so you can become the person that you want to be. In this way, through NLP, you can learn to edit out and even delete any internal programs that are adding unnecessary burdens to your mind and body and triggering the stress response. So, despite the pseudoscience label, my experience has been that NLP, if used correctly, can do just what it says on the tin. It can use language and understanding of the underlying brain circuitry to reprogram thoughts so that the stress response is not triggered inappropriately. If you'd like to experience NLP, please contact me by my website at soothingstressstrategies.com. In my next video, I'll explain more about another therapy that I use to reduce stress, hypnotherapy. Please look out for it on my Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. Bye for now.